You know those moments in life when you feel like you're on the edge of greatness, only to realize that the edge is actually a slippery slope into a chasm of absurdity? Yeah, that was me, sitting in the waiting room of Galactic Innovations. The receptionist, a robotic entity named Glenda with an expression perpetually set to mildly disinterested, had just told me to wait for Mr. Throckmorton. That name alone should have been my first clue to run for the hills. So, there I was, fiddling with my resume, which boasted such illustrious achievements as invented a self-replenishing coffee mug and enhanced a toaster to play Beethoven while toasting. Truly groundbreaking stuff. Just as I was contemplating the life choices that had led me here, the door opened, and in walked Mr. Throckmorton himself, a man who looked like he'd stepped straight out of a steampunk fever dream. "Ah, you must be Derek," he boomed, shaking my hand with enough vigor to qualify as a minor earthquake. Come in, we've got much to discuss." As I followed him into his office, I couldn't help but notice the plethora of bizarre contraptions lining the shelves. One particularly intriguing device appeared to be a fusion of a hairdryer and a chainsaw. Not exactly confidence-inspiring. "Derek, Galactic Innovations is at the forefront of cosmic creativity," Throckmorton began, his eyes gleaming with what could only be described as mad scientist enthusiasm. "We push boundaries, challenge the status quo, and create inventions that defy imagination." I nodded, trying to match his fervor. "Absolutely, sir. I'm all about defying imagination." "Excellent. Let's start with a simple task," he said, handing me a blueprint. "I need you to improve the design of our galactic coffee synthesizer. It currently makes the best coffee in the galaxy, but it lacks flair." "Flair?" "Yes. Make it sing, make it dance, make it delightful." He waved his hands dramatically, nearly knocking over a model of what looked suspiciously like a sentient vacuum cleaner. "Got it. Delightful coffee maker, no problem." Little did I know, this was just the beginning of my journey into the bizarre world of Galactic Innovations, where the line between genius and insanity was not just blurred, it was non-existent. Armed with Throckmorton's vague yet enthusiastic directive, I retreated to my new workspace, a cluttered corner of the lab filled with half-finished inventions and questionable improvements on everyday items. The galactic coffee synthesizer sat in the middle of the chaos, looking deceptively innocent. I stared at it, pondering how to inject flair into a coffee maker without turning it into a death trap. Inspiration struck in the form of an old, dusty record player tucked away on a shelf. What if the synthesizer played music while brewing? And better yet, what if it had a voice? Several hours and many questionable design choices later, I stood back to admire my creation, the Melodic Brewmaster 3000. It was a Frankenstein's monster of chrome and vinyl, with a built-in speaker and an extensive library of classic rock hits. "All right, let's see what you can do," I muttered, pressing the start button. At first, everything seemed fine. The machine hummed to life, and the sweet sound of Led Zeppelin's Immigrant Song filled the air. Then, things took a turn for the worse. The synthesizer began to shake violently, coffee splattering everywhere as it belted out Robert Plant's vocals at an ear-splitting volume. "Stop! Stop!" I shouted, fumbling for the off switch. But it was too late. The synthesizer had developed a mind of its own. It shot coffee in all directions, spraying me and everything else in the vicinity with scalding liquid. Just as I was about to give up hope, Throckmorton burst into the room, looking more delighted than concerned. "Magnificent!" he exclaimed, dodging a particularly aggressive jet of coffee. "Simply magnificent." "Magnificent?" I repeated, incredulous. "It's a disaster." "Nonsense. It's bold, it's innovative, it's exactly what we're about here at Galactic Innovations." He clapped me on the back, sending me stumbling forward. "Keep it up, Derek. I expect great things from you." With that, he left, leaving me to clean up the caffeinated chaos. As I mopped up the mess, I couldn't help but wonder if I'd just taken the first step towards greatness, or insanity. Encouraged by Throckmorton's unexpected approval, I dove headfirst into my next project, improving the office toaster. This time, I decided to go big. No more minor enhancements. I was going to create a teleporting toaster. The concept was simple enough. Why wait for your toast to pop up when it could appear right on your plate? After several days of tinkering and a few minor electrical shocks, I finally had a prototype. The Teletoaster 5000 was sleek, shiny, and hopefully ready for action. "All right, let's give this a whirl," I said to myself, placing a slice of bread into the toaster and setting my plate on the table across the room. I pressed the button and held my breath. The toaster hummed. Lights flickered, and with a flash, the bread disappeared. I turned to my plate, expecting to see a perfectly toasted slice. Instead, I found a charred, smoking piece of bread and a note that read, "Try again." "What the?" I started, but before I could finish, the toaster buzzed again, and another piece of burnt toast materialized on my plate, this time with a different note. "Almost there." Confused but undeterred, I adjusted the settings and tried again. This time, the toaster rattled violently before launching the bread across the room. It smacked into the wall and fell to the floor, perfectly toasted but decidedly not on my plate. "Okay, fourth time's the charm," I muttered, reloading the toaster. I pressed the button and waited. This time, the toast appeared on my plate, golden brown and perfect. I sighed in relief and reached for it, only for the toaster to beep and teleport the toast back into itself. "Oh, come on!" Just then, Throckmorton walked in, eyeing the mess with a curious expression. "Ah, the Teletoaster 5000. How's it coming along?" "Well, it makes toast, eventually," I said, pointing to the pile of failed attempts. "But it has a bit of an attitude." He laughed, picking up the latest note. "Almost there indeed. Keep refining it, Derek. You've got something special here." I couldn't help but smile. Maybe I was onto something. Or maybe I was just going mad. Either way, life at Galactic Innovations was never dull. Emboldened by my previous near successes, I decided to tackle a new challenge. The hairdryer. Simple. Everyday items were clearly my forte, and I was convinced I could make the ultimate hairstyling device. Why settle for just drying hair when you can style it, color it, and give it volume all at once? I mused, sketching out my plans for the Hairmaster Extreme. My design included adjustable heat settings, built-in color cartridges, and a volumizing feature that promised salon-quality results in minutes. After a week of intense work, the Hairmaster Extreme was ready for its first test. I invited my colleague Janice to be the guinea pig. She was a good sport about it, even when I explained that this was the first time the device would be used on a human head. "Don't worry, Janice. What's the worst that could happen?" I said, trying to sound reassuring. "Famous last words," she replied with a wry smile. I switched on the Hairmaster Extreme and began the styling process. At first, everything seemed to be going well. Janice's hair dried quickly. The built-in color cartridges applied a lovely shade of auburn, and the volumizing feature was working wonders. Then, things took a turn for the explosive. Literally. The Hairmaster Extreme started to overheat, emitting a high-pitched whine. Before I could react, the device exploded in a shower of sparks, leaving Janice with a rather unfortunate new hairstyle. Think electrocuted poodle. "Oh my God, Janice, are you okay?" I asked, horrified. She blinked, patting her now frizzy hair. "Well, it's definitely got volume." Just then, Throckmorton appeared, seemingly drawn by the chaos. "What happened here?" I sighed, showing him the charred remains of the Hairmaster Extreme. It was supposed to be the ultimate hairstyling device. "Ah, I see. Well, it certainly made an impact." He chuckled, patting me on the shoulder. "Back to the drawing board, Derek. You'll get it right." As I cleaned up the mess, I couldn't help but feel a mix of frustration and determination. Galactic Innovations was a roller coaster ride of triumphs and disasters, but one thing was clear: I was never bored. After all the debacles, I decided to focus on something more practical: a holographic assistant. The idea was to create a virtual helper that could assist with daily tasks, answer questions, and provide company. I spent weeks working on the HoloHelper 1.0, programming it to be intuitive, responsive, and, most importantly, user-friendly. Finally, it was ready for its debut. I called Throckmorton to my workspace, eager to show off my latest creation. "Sir, I present to you the HoloHelper 1.0, I said, activating the device. A holographic figure appeared, looking like a friendly, slightly translucent version of myself. "Hello, Mr. Throckmorton. How can I assist you today?" it said in a cheerful tone. Throckmorton looked impressed. "Very nice, Derek. What can it do?" "Anything you need, really. It can schedule appointments, provide reminders, answer questions, and even tell jokes," I explained, feeling a surge of pride. "Wonderful! HoloHelper, Tell me a joke, Throckmorton commanded. The hologram paused for a moment before responding, Why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything. Throckmorton chuckled. Not bad, not bad. Let's see how it handles more complex tasks. Holo-helper, prepare a report on the latest project developments. The hologram nodded, its expression serious. Compiling data, report ready. Throckmorton glanced at the holographic report, nodding in approval. Very impressive, Derek. This could be a game changer. Just as I was basking in the glow of success, the holo-helper began to glitch. Its image flickered, and it started repeating the same joke over and over again. Why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything. Why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything. Holo-helper, stop, I said, trying to regain control. But the hologram ignored me, continuing its relentless joke loop. Throckmorton raised an eyebrow, clearly amused. Seems your assistant has a sense of humor, Derek. I frantically pressed buttons, trying to shut down the malfunctioning hologram. Finally, with a desperate yank of the power cord, the holo-helper disappeared, leaving me red-faced and exasperated. Throckmorton laughed, patting me on the shoulder. Don't worry, Derek. Every great invention has its quirks. Keep refining it. You're on the right track. After countless trials and tribulations, I decided it was time to create something truly remarkable, a device that embodied everything I'd learned at Galactic Innovations. I envisioned a multifunctional gadget that could handle any task, from making coffee to cleaning up messes, styling hair, and even providing companionship. I called it the Omni gadget. It was sleek, compact, and packed with features. I spent weeks perfecting the design, ensuring it was both practical and user-friendly. Finally, it was ready for its grand debut. I invited Throckmorton and the entire team to witness the unveiling. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Omni gadget, the ultimate invention, I announced, holding up the device. Throckmorton looked impressed. Show us what it can do, Derek. With a flourish, I activated the Omni gadget. It sprang to life, displaying a holographic interface and a cheerful voice. Hello, everyone! How can I assist you today? I demonstrated its various functions, making coffee, cleaning up spills, and even styling Janice's hair, with her permission, of course. Everything was going perfectly, until the Omni gadget decided to showcase its creative mode. The device began to rearrange the furniture, stack papers into intricate sculptures, and even attempted to paint a mural on the wall. It was impressive, but also completely chaotic. Omni gadget, stop! I commanded, but the device was too deep into its artistic frenzy. Paint splattered everywhere, and the office quickly turned into a colorful mess. Throckmorton laughed, clearly delighted by the spectacle. Well, Derek, you've certainly created something unique. With a final press of the button, I managed to switch off the Omni gadget, standing amidst the aftermath of its creative outburst. I'll, work on the control settings, I said, trying to hide my embarrassment. Throckmorton patted me on the back. You've done well, Derek. At Galactic Innovations, we value creativity above all else. And you've certainly proven yourself to be a true innovator. As I cleaned up the mess, I couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. My journey at Galactic Innovations had been filled with ups and downs, but one thing was certain. I had truly unleashed my cosmic creativity. And who knows? Maybe my next invention would be the one to change the galaxy.